Jeffrey. Oh, I have to say got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Hello,
Hello.
Carol.
Hi.
Gang's all here.
I
Yeah.
disappeared completely.
It disappeared completely. So you have to find the little icon for Zoom.
We did it. For a moment, it's like everything just like blocked.
I know.
Ah, it's amazing, no? It's very interesting, the computer, because you never know when encounter every time you open it, this particular form. I don't know what that is, but it's okay. We are here. That's the most.
Zoom had some
Hi, Jeffrey.
upgrades.
Nice to see you. Lovely to see you.
Cristiam.
I like
Good to
your
see you too.
I don't know what you call it. I mean, a beer, no?
Yeah, beard. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they call it.
Yeah. How wonderful. I love it.
It does look great, though.
Mhm.
Yeah, it looks great. I like the color.
It
and
does.
everything.
And the tree behind us, so sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
You're in the garden or is it in the house?
Outside
It's
Outside?
outside the
on
back
the
door.
porch. Yeah.
Oh, how
On
nice.
the deck.
How lovely. Well, here we are. Do we have any questions from the last time? Everything is good. Any suggestions? Everything is anything that I can start with apart from the fountain today a little bit.
I like the idea of working with the fountain because it really incorporates like all of the aspects of three-dimensionality, but it's not easy, but it's connected. It's so interesting to learn everything at the same time, like that.
Oh, yeah. So the movements, the connections, the path of balance, they're all existing inside of the fountain of life, right?
Yeah, and I think it would be great to, if we're going to do that, maybe to talk a little bit about the connections. We'll do the movement, but also talk about those connections. It'd be
The
really
connections to the fountain or the connection to the move. Well,
to everything. I mean,
everything.
if you're going to talk
okay,
about it.
so let's start. So then we don't utilize so much time in it. But so you don't understand that the fountain of life is the name of the first whole section of Unity in Motion. Remember?
Okay.
Yeah, the first section, all of the movements that we work in is called the fountain of life. We changed it because originally we had another name to it, but we recognized that it was lovely to put it all together inside of it because that is what it is. So anyway, the connections are all connections to the metrics of balance, to the sphere of life, and to the fountain of life. Yeah, and so the connection, remember that in the fountain of life is the first principle of the connect us to the dimension of crown. Yeah, the first dimension of crown is totally perceived and understood through the practice, through the fountain of life, because crown represents the moment of renewal of life. It's not just only the moment that we consider to be living with it, but the moment that it happened before awareness. So it is life itself. That's the reason it's called the fountain of life. Yeah. And then the connections is where they connect us three-dimensionally to the metrics. And each connection then becomes centralized at a specific center within the 7 centers through the sphere of life. Yeah. And then through the practice, the sphere of life becomes more and more synchronized with ourselves, more perceptive and more united within the tensional forces of the body. And then as the sphere of life becomes integrated with ourselves, which has to do with gravitational expansion. Remember the last time we worked in gravitational expansion, as the sphere of life becomes more and more connected, the sphere becomes the fountain. And then it's important to begin to notice the difference between the sphere and the fountain. The sphere is the way that we are learning to utilize the center of our being and the center of gravity, expansion, and the movement to give us the actual phenomenon, physical phenomenon of the sphere of life, from which we are expanding and connecting to all the connections and all the paths and everything. But then when the fountain begins to appear, we feel like the actual form of the movements are really being guided from outside at the same time that it's guided from inside. Because in the beginning, all you have is the inside to be able to really connect and begin to sense where's the connection with the outside and everything. But in the fountain, the inside and the outside are simultaneous with the moment itself. And this is a wonderful experience, because then we get to understand how the fountain of life and the new consciousness and the new world is constantly ever present, appearing within the moment of our lives. So it's like, it's a renewal. It's magical because it's constantly appearing. It's not that we go in toward it, it embraces us. And then it gave us the sensation that we are connected to. Yeah, because the greater field of the fountain is not just only the body and the immediate surroundings, it's the entire fountain, which is the universe itself. Because everything in the universe is synchronized. That's the reason it's called the universe. And the fountain of life is the universe coming into the center of itself at the same time that it expands into infinity. That's what the fountain comes into the center of itself at the same time that it expands into infinity. Yeah, in relation to the universal existence, the universal coming into itself is coming into the center of the universe itself. That in the history of our consciousness we have called paradise. It's the place which everything comes together and expand into the renewal at the same time, and is engaged in this beautiful spherical, forever expanding fountain, which is, once the mind and the energy and the feeling begin to integrate it with it, it's always present within ourselves. It's actually ever present before we are aware of its existence. Yes, so then, as we know that at any one moment we can connect to it by ourselves. Oh, I see, so eventually it becomes a given that you are totally always connected to the fountain of life, because that's who you are, and that's what the self is. Remember that the self in ourselves is the merging of the three senses of the self, and the three senses of the self, as they merge, they appear as the self in each of us. And the self in each of us has always existed. It exists and always exists. It will and always will exist. And that is a lot to say, because I don't want to say the traditional dualistic consciousness that we come in from, all those are questions that could never be answered. Do the self exist? Do I exist after life? That after life does it exist? All those questions. But when the self appears, that question disappears, because you recognize that you are not separated from life at all. And when you're not separated from life, you're always inside of the fountain. So then the question, do life exist and death exist? It's going to be crazy a little bit, because it will not appear in the moment. But if it does appear, you understand that what happened, the mind went to a place that do not really have any meaning in relation to life itself. Because in the traditional consciousness, we don't know what life is. It's a mystery. We don't know that we are alive. We don't know that life is eternal. Even many of us understand that in our essence. I don't know. I wouldn't say that we don't know, but let's put it that way. Make it simple, because it can create duality by that statement. in the reality itself, all there is the fountain of life, period. And then that's what we call crown in the first dimension. Yeah, the first dimension is called crown. Remember that I said to you last time that crown has two meanings. It has the meaning called light, and it has the meaning called crown. The reason that we name it crown, because it's the moment of renewal of universal existence. It's the actual moment of the fountain, because the fountain of life is every single instant coming into itself and renew it. So it's forever going. But in every single moment of life, it goes 1 degree more. Always 1 degree more. That's the reason the universe is expanding into infinity. Yeah. As a whole, the universe is expanding into infinity. So the infinity nature of moment to moment expanding is the fountain. And that's the reason that we say that life is eternal, because it's constant renewing in a dynamic, extraordinary sense of expansion that we call the universe. Yeah? And we are simultaneous with it as the fountain of life. Yeah. So this is important to remember all the time. The fountain, remember all the time. Let me see, how do I say it? Not that you have to remember all the time, but whenever you forget, yeah, because if you're trying to remember all the time, you're not going to. Yeah, you understand that
Then you're just trying to
the
remember.
fountain
you're
is the
not-
fountain is the fountain. You cannot remember the fountain. It's the only thing that you don't have to remember. It is. Let's put it that way. So therefore,
Cristiam,
I see it.
Cristiam, I
Yeah.
love, I recently I've been thinking about the first law of thermodynamics.
Uh-huh.
And that is that energy cannot be created or destroyed.
Yes.
So to me,
just
that
changes
means
from
that
one
we
form to
have
another.
been here
Yeah.
always before the universe.
Yeah.
We are that energy,
Yeah,
and science recognizes that. They don't probably put it in that context, but we can, because we've always been here. So
and that's why, like, everything from the beginning of of time that we know of is still here
Yeah.
today. That they understand that keeps on changing and keeps on moving, and it's like, yeah.
and
Yeah.
we
It
can see
starts-
it through the telescope. The Webb telescope is telling us.
Oh
it's
yeah,
all
can you imagine
over.
this?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's exciting. It's very
So it's also a moment that once we begin to connect to the fountain of life and it becomes real for ourselves, we begin to understand that the moment even before, in the moment of existence that already existed before the Big Bang, and the Big Bang, it always had been a consecutive unfolding of moments that have never been stopped from an instant until the moment that we're talking to you right now in this moment. So the mind comprehends the continuity of its existence from before the beginning and also in the beginning. So yeah, this is very important, because then otherwise in the traditional consciousness, since time became so a little chopped, let's put it chopped by the nature of the three senses being separated. So we were always in different worlds trying to figure it out what the moment was, maybe not even knowing that really existed. But when it did become into existence, and the self appeared, then the self understood that it's eternal, because it existed before it began to exist, and it exists now, putting it all together in the continuity of the consciousness. So the consciousness became then this exquisite tapestry that self-contained all things. And the physicists call quantum entanglement. The notion that every single point in the universe is interconnected simultaneously to every other point and exists as one system that we call the universe. Yeah. So it wasn't until we don't know. I think that very possible. Remember that I said to you that maybe the idea of physicists beginning to uncover the possibility of proving in terms of physics, the simultaneity of relationship between all things that made it quantum entanglement to be the real comprehension of unity. Yeah, outside of the religious idea of unity. Yeah, because the religious idea of unity have existed for a long time inside of our spiritual world, but we didn't. We accepted it as something that it was someday will have connection to it, but we didn't know that we lived in the realms of unity, and unity is all there is, until the new consciousness came into being and the fountain became part of our consciousness, and then unity and motion became the description of the fountain of life. Unity and motion, the description of the fountain of life, and the description of the moment of life. That is no longer temporal inside of the traditional consciousness, but it's eternal, because it is the instant that interconnect all things into one moment. Because the universe is expanding into infinity, renewing as one every single moment. So the moment itself is the renewal, is the expansion of the universe. Yes, because the expansion, the universe is expanding in omnidirections. Omnidirections is another form of understanding the sphere of life. The sphere of life is an omnidirectional sphere. It means all directions of space synchronized as one. And that's what the Big Bang was in our analogy. That's what the universe is as it expanded into infinity. And with it, since at every single instant is renewing itself inside of its creation, that is the reason that it's called the fountain of life, because it gives and receives itself as the energy that we call love. Yeah. Now, to use the word love is a little bit complex, because in the traditional consciousness, love was something that we feel, we want, but we'd always treat it as an emotion.
And it had an opposite.
And it had an opposite. Yeah. Thank you. It had an opposite. Yes. Love and hate. Yeah. Beautiful. Good and evil. That's what it was. The original idea was the tree of life, which was in the garden, which was the actual fountain, got covered up with the tree of good and evil. And when it became dualistic, it has to start all over again inside of its own evolutionary sense in order to discover the totality of its unity, and therefore becomes reinstated through its own evolutionary unfolding to the natural state that is actually the moment of life. So the moment of life became once again the tree of life. Yeah. So we are inside of the tree of life. The tree of life is actually the fountain itself, right? The tree is the fountain, it's omnidirections. Yeah, everything goes from the bottom up all the way up in every single moment, and it grows everywhere. It doesn't grow only in the top. Everything is changing. It grows into the roots, which will be paradise. At the same time, it grows into the light, which is the actual possibility of growing. Yeah. So that's what happened, that everything, we are inside of the tree of life. We are inside of the fountain of life. We are the moment of life. And the moment, for the first time, as I said, it became eternal, because it's not a relative moment. It's not the relative moment in which each of us live life, but it's the moment that is the life itself of our own life. It is the actual life itself. It's not the moment. I mean, it's the same, because in reality, let me see if we can just make it simple. We in our particular solar system, which is the movement of the planet around the sun and the relation to all the planets that we call the solar system, everything is a dance And the way we experience the dance of the solar system through the planet Earth is through what we call time, which is the measurement of time, what we call the day, what we call the hour, what we call the minute, what we call the seconds. So we use the particle of time to be able to measure the days that we call our life, the planet Earth rotating around the sun. Yes. So, yeah. So now the fractal nature of time is the actual necessity of reality itself. Because within every instant, we becoming real through the gravitational field. At the same time that within every single instant, we are renewing with the expansion of life. At the same time, 3 dimensions in which we are part of the whole universal existence. At the same time that we are part of the whole human race and the whole planet and the whole nature at the same time. So the frame of time is like a clock, a temporal clock that is totally connected to the universal clock. A temporal clock that is totally synchronized with the universal clock. That is the reason that for the first time, the moment that we call our lives is now the universal moment. And that is the reason that it's eternal, because it's partaking of the whole energy of expansion that is the universe. And not only that, that have awakened within ourselves the eternal memory of always existing, always have existed, always has, and always will exist. So we are, if you may, the I don't know what the word we'll use, the ones that is breaking the system
Pioneers.
into really
Pioneers.
yeah, the pioneers of living in the eternal reality. Yeah, the eternal reality is a fantastic thing, because the eternal reality, now that we are back into the tree of life, no longer inside of duality, inside of the reality itself, totally interconnected to paradise, which is the moment of creation, which is the connection to God. Yeah, to God as creativity, to God as intelligence, to God as love, to all the attributes that we really discover in the linear process of our humanity, but they became fulfillment and real now that we are eternal. So love becomes 100% real because it represents the free aspects of our senses. It represents the sense of there is consciousness, you know, intelligence, yeah, exists in the whole field, right? It represents the emoting sense of love, which is, can be described as the entire voyage of evolution. The entire voyage of evolution having the discovery of love, because that was the biggest treasure that anybody could really ever wanted from the beginning of time. Yeah, remember, for certain people, love is power. Certain people, for a mother, is their children. For certain people, is the corresponding other side of oneself. You know, being married, and everything is about love. From the beginning, it was, but it got confused because love becomes relative inside of the relative interpretation of time. So I could love you today, but I don't know about tomorrow. Well, because that's what it is, because that's what happened. The evolutionary nature of ourselves, it never allowed before to really be consistent into anything, even though many of us did that, because the consistency is what brought us home. Remember that there were many, many, many people in the history of human evolution. They gave their lives to be able to discover the things that it was going to bring us home. Yeah, remember that we talked about last week about the man, they discovered the growth of nature. You know, the particular what was the name, Ellen? The gentleman that we always remember.
You're talking about the fellow Pisano.
Yes,
The-
Leonardo Pisano, the Italian man in the 16th century, I think it was, that dedicated his life, you know. So the many human beings dedicated their life to be able to really actually keep growing into, either keep growing into the human evolutionary unfolding of mind, if we will see from that perspective, or keep growing in the desire to reconnect with the original memory of unity that existed within our natural imprint called human. Because we all have the original imprint of human before the Big Bang, or if you wanted to put it inside of the Big Bang, doesn't really matter. That's where we recover. We recover the eternal moment. Yeah, we recover the eternal moment. So anyway, in the eternal moment that we are right now, we are in a universal harmony, which is the union of all things synthesized as the moment of life. So that's what we used to call in the time the music of the spheres. Remember the music of the spheres? The whole universe is really actually the great symphony in which all music comes into existence by the very interrelation to this constant field that is constantly creating this beautiful music available for everyone who wants to connect to it, or who wants to be inspired, or who wants to be discovered, and so on. Yeah, so we are the music of the spheres. Yeah, and in our practice, we use the count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're using the rhythm that the planet experiences as synchronized with the motions of all the solar system. Yes, so our solar system. So the timing of the practice is actually the rhythm. We call it the biorhythm of life. We used to call it. It's the rhythm that we enter as we practice the movements. The biorhythm of life. Yeah, we enter the rhythm. This rhythm is always existing. Remember, it's the fountain. It's the renewal of the fountain. It's always existing. So you can get up in the morning from bed, and before you open your eyes, you said, I am inside of the fountain. You can go to bed and say, oh, thank you very much. I am sleeping in the fountain. Because that's the way that your system can repair itself constantly, unconsciously, by partaking of the whole system that is eternal, because it renews itself from the smallest particle to the largest system at the same time. The same time. Time, temporal, time, eternal, being in the same clock now, the universal clock. Yeah, it's very important to have the universal clock because we had a fantastic well-being to ourselves. So anyway, let's relent for a little bit. So anything there about the things that I said that it come into questions of you, or anything that you would like to repeat about anything that I said that you're thinking about it, or it click, or maybe it was just that it went into your mind, but you may not yet contemplate it, to be able to allow the mind to say, okay, temporal time, universal time, from the beginning of time, before the Big Bang, it always had been a consecutive unfolding of frames of time, that when we became reunited with the whole system, became the exact frame of time that corresponded to, from the beginning, to the whole connection of the universe itself. So we were reconnected with time. We're reconnected to the heart of creation, to the human heart, to the mind of creation, to the feeling that you always conceal within the human heart. But also we connected with the moment of renewal that becomes your experience of being eternal. without having to be divided in the discussion of life and death. Yeah, because eternity is not divided. It's the reality of continuity of everything. Yeah, wonderful. So go ahead, Darlene. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm always inspired by the things that are happening that we could call results of unity in motion. But I had a dream, and it was this week, and the dream was all of these people were all around, and nobody spoke any languages between them. They didn't know how to speak English or anything, but everybody was doing unity in motion.
Yes.
And there wasn't any, everybody was knowing everybody else without any language, except unity in motion was the language. So it's the new language now.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's it. That's it.
It's the
Beautiful.
new global
Perfect.
language.
Yes, absolutely. The new language. Absolutely. Especially when you recognize that once you practice it now, whatever you do, and you even just the thought of it is reconnects you to inside of the fountain. And the fountain have many gifts to give us, because it has the gift of renewal from the traditional consciousness, but the gift of renewal that brought us to the eternal consciousness. So the eternal consciousness is an extraordinary voyage, because it has millions and millions and millions of forms of creativities that existed inside of the universal balance. Millions and millions and millions and millions of expressions of creativity that existed inside of universal balance. Because universal balance is all creativity, and it's the mind of God, even though it's not accurate, because God doesn't have a mind, God is. But we can acknowledge as mind because it expresses, is always inside of his whole existence. God is the existence of non-separation. Yeah, non-separation, unity. So that's what it is. So therefore, so it is important sometimes that you let your mind really go into those places, because you getting in contact there, since we always existed and we always exist. And I carry within me the memory before time, that I carry the memory of all time. I can have access now to many aspects of my being that were innocently on hold when I was in the collective traditional consciousness. Yeah, because in collective traditional consciousness, we were always living inside of a never-ending groundhog, repeating everything and growing, but growing inside of our own inner system that was mostly innocently ruled by the dualities of consciousness. So we was always escalating the dualities without not knowing that we were the center union of the dualities itself. And being the center unity of the dualities itself, we were reconnecting to another system that existed outside of duality. Or another form of say, another system in which duality doesn't exist. It's just the unity of itself. So that's the reason that we reconnected to it. Yeah.
We are that God energy that we connect to.
Exactly. And that answered the question for many of us, because remember the duality in the realms of duality, or in the realms of the traditional consciousness, there was always this extraordinary discussion between, does the self exist or does not exist? Is there self or no self? So the complexity is that in reality, in the reality itself, the self, life, and God are simultaneous. So I don't exist outside of those things. It's the three natures of my being. My intelligence is God, my feeling is love, the physical reality is my connection to everything. So therefore, I am inside of a new system that allow me for the first time to understand that duality was an illusionary projection of two mirrors. So there was, if you wanted to put it in terms of good and evil, there is a long story that good reflects evil and evil reflects good, and they become interchanging. This is just simple to tell you. So in the interchanging, evil saw itself as good and good saw itself as evil at different times. It's all relative. It's all relative to the moment, what is occurring, to the projections, and so on. So we always thought that it would be a moment that they would merge together. But we didn't know that when the moment of merging took place, the whole duality of the mirror disappeared. It didn't exist in the sense that when the polarities merges into the sphere of itself, it became the engagement with the fountain. And the fountain doesn't have any existence of otherness other than the existence of wholeness, in which everything reflects itself inside of wholeness. Not everything that reflects as otherness. Yeah. So that's the reason that is so important, the moment itself. Yeah. Okay. Are we good? So we everything is good. No question about what I'm saying. It's really, I'm telling you many things today but I'm going slow enough that we can understand. So let's go back very gently into the practice a little bit. Yeah. Shall we do start sitting and then we do standing a little bit? Let's go through the first section. Let's go to the fountain. Let's go through. Okay. Let's go through the fountain twice, and then let's go through the definition of the 7 centers. Yeah. The first definition of foundation, taking us to crown, is a definition of 2 centers. Yeah. The pelvis and the pelvic floor. The other definitions that take us expansion, all the horizontal definitions take us to the center of the heart. Yeah. All the definitions above, infinity, heaven, central crown, take us into the definition of the third Trinity, which is actually mind, feeling, and action. Yes. So we're always connecting inside of the fountain, inside of the intelligence of the fountain, inside of the feeling into the fountain, inside of the physical reality of the fountain. But above all, if there is such a thing to say above, inside of the creative renewal, that is the very existence of our life. The creative renewal, that is the existence of our life. Yeah, we are alive means that we are in the creative renewal that we call life. All right, I'm going to move my chair. Oh, actually, I don't need that. Here I am. All right. Lovely. So can you hear me? Okay. Can you? Yeah. Okay. We know the 0-point balance is the beginning and the beginning at the end of the study, right? Yes. You know already that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 0-point balance is our connection to the sphere of life in stillness, but it's the connection to the fountain of life and motion. Yeah, so you can be 0-point still, but once you get the energy in which you start moving, you are inside of the fountain. Yeah, which is always moving, always existing. So we're going to start very gently, and we're going to go to the fountain. And then, as I said, we do it twice, and then we'll stop very gently at the end of the fountain, and then we do the same. Okay, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We do another one. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I gather the wave and I go back to 0 point very gently and extend the second. Wonderful. Remember that the way that your hands rest in your thighs, rest or touches the thighs, correspond to your heart, the trinity of your heart, balance, beauty, and self at the center of your heart, which then give you throat, head, and crown, which then give you solar plexus, pelvis, pelvic floor. Are you okay with that? Yeah. Remember, I think that I suggest to you that when you are in the floor, if you practice in the floor, it's easy to practice in the floor from moon to, let me see what it is that from do suspended diamond in the floor. Because then when you do the suspended diamond in the floor, the moving spiral that is takes you to moving hard in the floor, you can really feel the shoulder girdle is not resting upon you, but it's moving inside of the horizontal plane in your heart. It's very good to do that. Okay, beautiful. You have any questions about this? It's all clear. How are you doing?
Good.
Yeah. All right. So now what we're going to do? We're going to do the second motion. Yeah. The second motion is the definition of the 4 of the 7 centers. Foundation, which is the pelvis and pelvic floor. Central heart, which is the center of life, the self, yeah, and which is 3 centers above and 3 centers below. The definition of suspended diamond, the centralization of your heart and your throat. The definition of central crown, the right and the left of your head, and the crown. They're all together existing in this definition. Yeah, this is a very important movement because you're learning to expand within and to define the 7 centers inside of you. So you learn to perceive that the 7 centers at the center of you is really actually the center of a space. Yeah, the center of the sphere of life, the center connection to the fountain of life, the 7 centers. So 5, beautiful. Just let's just to make sure that you don't get crystallized by having by not being in the motion. So we go 5, 6. So now, excuse me. We're going to do the definition, the 4 definitions, and we're going to complete the fountain. Yeah. So we're going to do it there. 5, 6, 7, and 8. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 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 1 and 2. We're going to go to central crown, central heart. 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. The center of a space. 2, 3 and 4. Descending, ascending. 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3. And now going to the delicate heart to the suspended diamond. 2, 3. Click. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Ascending to centers. 2 central crown. 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 5, 6, 7, and 8. Gathering the wave, just gently and getting to 0 point. How was that? Any questions about that? I think that you're doing well. I think that it's important for you to remember the crown is here, that is not there. Your crown is the point in which you connect to ground is exactly the other side, the center of your arches, connecting to the top of the head. Yeah, right here is good, but I'm connecting to the back of my neck now. The connection to my head, it existed in a little bit lower than you, exactly. So remember when you practice the unity in motion, that because the tendency is that since you follow the wave, then all of a sudden the wave is going to go here, yeah, because you're following the wave. But remember that when you go right and left, you're going also through front and back. So right and left, front and back, right and left, front and back, right and left, front and back, ground. Not just only right and left, right and left, right and left, right and left. When you unite the front and left and front and back, you're sliding through the movement to get to the connection of crown. Beautiful. Are you clear with that a little bit? Beautiful. Right there. That's fantastic. Beautiful. Beautiful. Fantastic. So,
Cristiam, you're saying that you don't want to go here and then down, but you want to go through it and be there.
exactly. Pass through the motion, descending through the motion at the same time that you're going right and left.
Okay.
That will make a descent. You are descending through the motion. That's the wave. At the same time that you're going exactly. The wave is something that continues forever, always. And that's the reason you're riding the wave to crown. And then it's important because when you begin to find the connection of crown, what it means is the above and below are simultaneous, right? The arms are going down, but your head is going up, yeah? Above and below are simultaneous. And the third finger of your hand is the crown. It's pure neutral, crown, beautiful. And you will feel it in your feet, the center of your arches, the center of your pelvis will be always connected to crown. Beautiful, yeah, beautiful. Which will be the same as 0 point balance, right? Crown is another expression of 0 point balance. In 0 point balance, crown is in 0 point balance. You are in all the centers simultaneously as well. But in crown, the polarity between the fountain renewal and the fountain being the foundation itself are one. The fountain renewal and the foundation itself are one. Yeah? Okay, beautiful. I want you to do something for me for a moment, if it is possible. Put the foot in the center of the space and just gently go to one leg and just be for a moment in that connection, if it's possible. Just find a place that is comfortable, very comfortable. The right arm corresponds to the knee, and any place that corresponds to the heart, and then the left hand will be in any place. You're asymmetrical a little, but at the same time you're symmetrical. Just for a few seconds to connect to it. Okay, this is a good place to practice at home. This is called the bridge. Remember, in the floor, you do it in the floor, and then when you're ready to practice, you lift the arm, the opposite arm, the polarity. You bring the foot to the floor, and then the other arm brings the other leg. Find the center, and then when you get to the center, connect to the pelvis. So you're extending through the pelvis at the same time that you're connecting to your knee and your feet. This is a very good place because it helps you to connect through your legs at the same time you are in 0 point. Yeah, wonderful. Then when you're ready, you bring in the opposite arm, you bring the leg down, you bring it to 0 point balance. Wonderful. Actually, what you can do, I can bring the chair a little bit back and bring yourself in back of the chair and let yourself rest for a few seconds. Just for a few seconds. Just rest back in the chair. Pass through the circle of the spine that connects to your feet. Connect through your hands and your arms that connect to your heart. Find the connection of your neck, the head, and the crown. And just hang around in 0 point reclining for a moment. This is a very good place to hang around because then when you're in bed, with pillows around, when you're resting, you are active at the same time that you're resting. Yeah, resting means 0 point. Active means that the energy is always ready to move. Wonderful. How about if we do one more time the 4 directions, the 4 definitions, and we complete and ground that before, and then we add the inner outer mandala, and then we add the release of balance at the end. The release of balance means that you go into suspended balance to release the lower back. Yeah. So we do the definitions of all the centers, and then we'll do the completion of the fountain, and then we got the wave, and we go all the way to infinity. You get to infinity. You connect to the entire mandala, and then when you complete with the mandala, you come back to foundation, and then you complete and crown. Yeah. And then touching balance will become suspended balance from now, going all the way to the heart, finding the spiral that correspond to the release of foundation, and you get to be in suspended balance for a while. One hand on top of another. This is good for your lower back. It's good for your arches. It's good for your feet. And then when the moment comes, you gather the spiral, you bring it into 0 point, and for now, you complete and crown. You can go the release of foundation if you want to, but you complete and crown. Okay. How about that? It's okay? So I'm going to move very gently myself to the center again, and we're going to do the definitions one more time.
Cristiam,
Yes.
originally we didn't, when we go the inner through the outer and we come in,
Yeah.
and then we just go into raising foundation. We don't go a unity in motion. Do you want to do that anyway?
Oh, no. If it's like that, let's go directly to touching to suspended balance. Suspended balance.
Suspended balance
Yeah, go ahead.
or touching balance?
Suspend.
Suspended balance. Suspended balance. We can do touching balance too, but it's better. Touching balance, suspended balance when you're in the chair is better even than touching balance. Touching balance is good too, but it's touching balance is a movement that is perfectly practiced when you stand up, because you have a full definition of your legs and your pelvis going forward. When you're seated, suspended balance is a fantastic movement when you practice, because suspended balance in the spiral of your heart, and then getting to the point of the suspended diamond here, it allows you to have a time to find out where the second on your lower back, your abdominal area is, all the places of your spine that then bring you back into foundation, and then from foundation you can come back completely to crown. Yeah, for now. Yeah. Am I confusing you? Because usually from there you go to the offering itself, right? When you go from
Well, that's the 3 releases.
yeah.
Are we doing the 3 releases now, or starting from?
No,
No.
we're just doing, instead of touching balance, we're just going into suspended balance, just instead of touching balance. Right.
Yeah, that's it. So what we're doing, Carolina, we go in the definition of all the centers again. The second part of the fountain, we complete the fountain, yeah, and then after the completion of the fountain, we go directly into suspend. Yeah, we go to the inner outer mandala, yeah, completely define the inner outer mandala, and then at the end, as we come back to foundation, we're going to go to the suspended, the first release, going up into the heart, starting the spiral, connecting to the moment of suspension, suspended balance, returning to foundation, and then complete and crown. This is just to practice in the chair, to assist us in the lower back. Am I confusing? Are you okay? All right? Okay. Are you fine? Okay, let's do it. We're going to go to the definition or the 4 definitions, yeah, for the sentence. 5, 6, 7, and 8. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and outflowing wave. 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2. The new crown, okay? 3 and 4. 1 and 4, Beverly. 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is the third one. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2. And now the second definition, which was from foundation, it connects to the heart, it becomes central heart, and it becomes the 7 centers. 4, releasing, descending, ascending, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now it's going to be, because the delicate heart, as I go from foundation, it's going to take me to the wave that connects me to suspended diamond. Click. And that will become descending, ascending into foundation. Then it takes me to crown. 3 and 4. And now I'm going to do the last of the definitions. That is going to take me from foundation through all the 7 centers, all the way to central crown, in which the spiral encircling me into my heart, and the heart from the pelvic floor unfolds all the way to central crown. I'm connecting to bring me to self, and self will bring me into the completion of the fountain. Now I gather the wave, 2, 3, and now I'm going to go the inner outer. So I'm going to get infinity's gate. Wow, all the way. Yay, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. And now I'm going to connect foundation to the release of foundation. To the heart, that's 2, 3, and 4. 1 and 2. Returning 3 and 4. Taking me all the way up into crown, and that's the completion of the movement, and we're arriving to 0 point. So that was the second movement. Yeah, even though the second movement when we're standing goes into touching balance. So are we good with that one? Are you good? Wonderful. So now we're going to go into the inner outer mandala. Are you okay seated, or you prefer to work standing now? Are you okay? It's up to you, okay? You work standing? Wonderful. Perfect. I got up 2. So the third movement is going to be what now? The third movement is going to be the inner outer mandala.
Oh, inner.
No, it's going to be the definition of the outer mandala, right? The definition of earth, and returning to foundation, then the definition of earth, and then from there the release of well, depends if we do it with the releases, we can do the releases, the 3 definitions and the 3 releases. That's okay. Shall we do it?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Remember, just 0 point, very gently. Wonderful. 5, 6, 7, gathering the wave. 1, 2, 3, and 4, unfolding earth. 2, wait 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I gather it to foundation, and we do the release. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The offering foundation. 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Unfolding earth, riding the wave, expansion, descending. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. The definition of heaven. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And from that one will become the release, and the side releases. How was that?
I clearly am not on the count, so could you just do the one from heaven for me once?
The one from where, darling? From
The in or out, the
the balance, I think it's
for release here, can you just do that? I'm missing count somewhere, not counting properly.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2.
1, 2, that's what it was, yeah.
2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's a new version, Christy. That's what you want to do?
Well, it's complex because it is each of us. It can be done in 8 counts, or it can be done in 10 counts. The release.
Well, just, you know, if we
As we're
don't
practicing
determine
together, it's nice to know what version.
either way,
Yeah,
Yeah, either way. So if
but it's good to know beforehand, you know. what we're
oh,
doing.
okay.
yeah, so that I'm practicing in the right, yeah.
All right. The reason that place got open is because for some of us, releasing the last, the releasing of heaven, it required a lot of natural extension in the spine, and then 1, 2 becomes the passing through that is taking you
I
back.
feel that, I think that's fabulous,
When we
that's
did it
so
in
great.
counts, when we
And
did it
then
in
how many
counts,
counts coming back?
then from 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then unfolding into heaven, directly to heaven, expanding heaven, and completing the motion as it is. So 2 counts from this swinging spirals, and 4 counts to get us back into foundation, and 4 counts to get you back in heaven, and then 4 counts to expansion, and 4 counts to complete the motion. Is that okay?
I
Yeah.
don't know what you're doing differently.
Adding 4 counts.
What are you doing differently?
So,
What happens that, yeah, let's explain. It's simple.
Why don't you
Well,
show me?
Okay, Nancy, I will tell you what we're doing different than when we do the release of heaven. Before we did it in 8 counts, the release of heaven, and now we're using 10 counts to get to in and out of balance, to create more time, to allow us to really make sure that we have all the places in the spine releasing naturally through it. Yeah, that's the reason that we did it. Yeah.
I'd like to see you do it. Could you show us?
Yeah.
Show me?
You want me to do it in 8, or I do it in the way it is 10
No,
count?
the one you're doing,
in the 10, yeah, the 12,
the 10.
1, 2, the extra count.
Beautiful. Okay. 0 point balance. I got it away because I'm gonna start at 0 point, okay? And I'm gonna go to heaven, right? 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. The release of heaven. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, heaven. 2, 3, expansion. 2, 3, crown. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just releasing the form. How was
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah? You can, it's complex because for me, I could do it at 8. I can do it at 8 as well. because I can be with it and extend and create more momentum. But 10 counts is good because it allows you to make sure that you have the descending spring, that you have the natural curves, that you're extending through the neck and the head, that you arrive into infinity, which is in and out of balance, from which then the swinging spirals come as a consequence of the extension of infinity.
Yeah, show that, Christy. I don't know, maybe you have to go a little farther back to be able to show that you're in infinity out in the inner outer balance.
I don't know if you can see my link. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
I can see, yeah,
See, oh God.
yeah, that's good.
Okay, so the 0 point balance, I'm going to go to gather the way to foundation and go to heaven. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, earth, rising, expansion, sit in the heart. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Foundation. 1, 2, 3. Heaven, expanding heaven, going into expansion. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3.
Beautiful.
How was that?
Beautiful. The other thing that that Carol had told me one time is that touching balance is horizon.
I'm sorry, darling. Go ahead.
Carol had told me one time that when we go into touching balance, so we go here and into touching balance, that this is horizon.
No, it's infinity. Infinity.
No.
Touching
For
balance.
just the.
Oh, I'm sorry. I beg your pardon.
Just the touching balance, sorry.
No, you're right. All right. I'm sorry. Touching balance is not horizon. It's in between horizon and a sphere when you get to touch balance. Because you can bend a little bit your arms. Let me see where you are, just gently. 1, 2, okay, you're going a little bit too fast. Do it again. Take all the time in the world. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Wonderful. That is the release of expansion, right? Touching balance is a little bit different, right? Touching balance, when you do touching balance, is a little bit different than the release of expansion.
Is that right? Oh, I didn't realize they were two different things.
Okay. Yeah.
So if I'm raising foundation, I'm just touching balance. That's
Exactly.
approximately the same.
Touching balance. Yeah. Show me the difference between touching balance and the release of expansion.
Okay, so I'm gonna do the touching balance first.
Okay.
So gathering the way.
Beautiful. That's touching balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm gonna do the other one.
The expansion release. The release of expansion. 2, 3. Take it easy. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. You can go even one.
So I'm not doing the right counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
3, 4. 1, 2. Great. That's 1, 2. Yeah. Fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Wonderful. Yes. Fantastic. Let's let me just spend a second, just relax for a minute.
Okay, so I just
So
have
what you're learning today is that the release of touching balance is different than the release of expansion. Period. Yeah. Wonderful. Yes. Okay. And now the release of expansion.
that was the release of expansion.
Oh, really? Oh.
All right, yeah, that was the release of expansion. I'll do it again.
Yeah. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Yes. Beautiful. Lovely. Perfect. Okay. Wonderful. The release the touching balance, it begins in foundation and it goes in touching balance. Remember that movement, when you complete the movement of the fountain, actually the inner mandala, and you go to foundation, and then from the first moment that you start moving, you start descending from the pelvis all the way down to touching balance.
Okay,
Yeah, it's different than the movement from expansion.
right, because you're up here.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the movement, therefore, is going to take you to another point of touching balance. Touching balance is going to be touching balance is going to be different when you come from expansion. Then touching balance is going to be different than when you go from foundation.
Right.
Just touching the floor.
Yeah.
And that difference, that difference, even though it may seem like a very, very minute, it implies that your mind comprehends the difference between the release of the lower back when you touch balance and the release and extension of your lower back when you do the release of expansion. So it's another place within your mind that you are releasing the body from. Yes? Okay. Yeah, let me a second.
But yeah, because the releasing balance feels more like, because you're already released the hip, you're already like there.
Exactly.
Right? But when you're coming up here, you have to go through
the heart and then releasing the wave.
So it's much more of an arc than of the spine than the other.
Exactly. In the wave that connects you from the heart, from the lower back to touch balance, is a whole wave from the heart. That's a whole wave of the spine, the entire way. Exactly. It's a completely different motion.
Yeah, it's like this one, I'm bending my knees a lot more.
Exactly.
And this one, I'm like much more in the outer arc there.
Exactly. And then the third one in heaven, what? Then what happened in heaven? What is the release of heaven? Then now, the third release from there, and now the whole wave, yay! All the way, and that would become easy. Yeah, fantastic, wonderful. So you can see that the releases are 3 different places in which your mind redirect and senses the body in a completely different form of release. It's mental at the same time that it's physical. Yeah. So it is the comprehension of the difference that creates the release in the spine through the mind. Because the mind says, okay, when I'm touching balance, I'm becoming like a ball, like a circle, touching all the way around, touching balance, right? Then when I do the release of expansion, I created a spiral that then when it gets to the heart, initiates in the pelvis, and then you have the whole spiral of the spine getting you to touch balance. Yeah. And then that particular circle of the entire body is the returning into foundation that is giving you the release of the offering self. Yeah. And then the third one is a trap, because the third one, when you enter the motion and you start the wave, now the wave from the heart, it means that you're going from the pelvic floor into the lower back, into the 12 thoracic vertebra, into the heart, into the throat, into the head, into the crown, and you are in infinity, completely passing through, extending through the whole spine at the same time that you're balancing the extension of your spine through the descending spring. So you are inside of a spiral inside of you, from which you can come back. So it's an elastical connection that you're creating when you're touching those places. Yes. So it's not so about the practice only, but it's about beginning to comprehend what is that your mind is doing when you're doing the motion. What is the purpose inside of you that you're facilitating through the mind the motion of the abdominal area, the lower back, the solar plexus, the center of the heart, the throat, the head, and the crown. The mind existing inside of your body is the actual extension of your body. The mind existing inside of the understanding of the movement is the actual inner extension of your body. Otherwise, you're just smashing the body from outside in. So that is what creates the elasticity that you're looking for. Yes? Beautiful, beautiful. So just let's spend a second for a moment here. Just be comfortable. Let me just I'm going to try to explain something that is very difficult, but it's not. But let's make it simple. In the movements of unity and motion, every single movement has a purpose. It's not because it looks nice. It's not because just only connect to the fountain of life, because that's the purpose of everything anyway. It's not that it's just a three-dimensional connection. It's not that it's just a path of balance. It's that each motion is directed for the mind to go inside of that place and define the natural extension that correspond from the foundation to each of the 7 centers. So each movement has a purpose to release the body internally. So then you are not just doing the motions for the sake of doing the motion, but you are actually extending, connecting, unifying consciously inside of yourself. And then that conscious extension, extending unification, is the actual integration of the mind and the body. So the mind is not in one place and the body is moving out. So each motion, that's the reason today we're breaking the fountain, the release of the 4 definitions, the completion of the fountain, the inner outer mandala is a big deal, the definition. Then the touching balance, which you discovered that is completely different than the release of expansion, yeah, and the release of heaven. So what you're learning today is that each movement has its own purpose. And if you do not, and your mind, for whatever reason, don't understand the purpose yet, ask. I said, what is the purpose of this motion? What am I sensing in this movement? What is my mind doing in my awareness inside of them as I'm doing the movement? Because it is the awareness of your mind as you're doing the movements that is unifying the body into the inner sensation of yourself. Without the mind understanding and going through the experience, you're nice, it's good, the movements are wonderful, it's going to help you, but it's not what we're talking about. It's not the unification of being. So it's not a big deal. It's only just that your mind begins to comprehend. If I don't understand what I'm doing right now, ask, yeah, because we will tell you. Yeah, and when you understand, then it will give you an enormous desire to practice, because you are the only one who can begin to really unify that inside of yourself, you know. So then that's the reason that the complexity with the timing sometimes, because when we counting in general for us all being together. But then when you get to the motion and practice, and you begin to practice with the count, you can understand that what you're unifying is the mind with the connections of the movement, with the rhythm of the movement. So you're having the mind, the connection of the movement with the rhythms of the movement. And that becomes fascinating inside. It will become fascinating because you said, oh, wow, I can really begin to learn the motion finally, instead of doing the motion. And that becomes fantastic, because then you'll see that everything will change, because your mind becomes fascinated by the energetic connection, the awareness, the sensation, and you become like a Pandora box inside of your being. Yeah, because it's wonderful. You become the sensation. Yes. So anyway, fantastic. So we got to do those three whole movements. The fountain of life, we got to go to the definition, they complete the fountain. We get to do the inner outer mandala, and we got to do the touching balance, that it became very clear that it's different than the expansional balance. We did the 3 releases, that it became very clear. It became clear that the release of heaven has 12 counts. But if you practice and you said, okay, if I do it for 12 counts, it's going to make me drag myself and I'm not going to hit the momentum. So I'm going to do it in 8 from now. And then after a while, you can say, okay, I need more time because my mind is chunky inside of my feeling. And it doesn't let me experience the subtlety that exists in the vertebrae. And then you say, oh, I need a little bit more time because I need to really feel that all my vertebrae are spiraling into the wave before bringing me back. And when you do that, your mind became connected to the spine completely because that's what it is. You got it. Yeah. So Nancy, you're doing absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. Darlene, you understand the difference between 8 and 10 counts now a little bit, right? And
I
10.
do.
Oh,
I do. I haven't practiced at that. I haven't practiced that much yet. But
yeah. The
I
best
think I'm going to use the 10 counts for a while.
use the 8 counts. Yes.
I've been doing the 8 counts.
And then what happens is that if you put in something in front of you because you don't want to reach all the way back into the ground, put it into a place that you're arriving. When you get to the 8 counts, make sure that when you get to touch in and out of balance, that in and out of balance is the inner extension of your abdominal area inside of the pelvis. So that's the reason that you may need to a few seconds there in the release, because when you touch balance, you have to feel that the abdominal area, it doesn't go out from you, but the movement from touching balance, it begins from the beginning of the pelvis to take you up. So the abdominal area connect, so it doesn't hang and touch in balance.
Right.
Yeah, so that, because remember that that's began in the pelvic floor. All motions begin in the pelvic floor because it's the foundation of the movement.
Okay, I get it. I
Yeah.
think I get it. Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, absolutely. It will be fantastic for you, darling, when you start integrating that, because now that's the next thing. When you connect to the abdominals, it means that you are connecting to the pelvic floor, from which via the abdominals, you're almost extending the sacrum back. The sacrum is going back into you a little bit to give you the beginning of the spine from which you're unfolding the movement. So the abdominals is called the lower diaphragm. The lower diaphragm. The lower diaphragm is in the pelvis.
Yeah.
And once you begin to understand the pelvis and the abdominals, the pelvis and the abdominals are the bellows from which the lungs expand and contract to get air. The expansion and the contraction doesn't occur in the lungs. It occurs in the abdominals. The abdominals are facilitating the expansion of the lungs and air. And that's reason it's complex, because we all think that we breathe in through the lungs. We breathe in through the abdominal areas, connecting and like a bellows, then expanding the breath to getting into it. Yeah. And wonderful. All right. So we let you be. I want you to tell you that, let me see, what else did I need to tell you? The first part of the video, I said many, many wonderful things that are very,
Yeah.
very wonderful. Many, many necessary things that if you can spend time with them, it's going to be very helpful, because I give you the analogy of, especially the analogy of the center of the universe being paradise and being simultaneous with the fountain, and ground being the fountain, yeah? And the fountain being before your awareness, being before anything, because it is the life of your being. It's not the awareness of your being. It's not the sensation of your being. It's not the physical sensation of your being. It's even before that. It is the actual existence of those three things. Yeah. Yes. So then you say, oh, I'm eternal because I am life. Yeah. Wonderful. I love you. Have fun. Everything
Thanks,
is divine.
Christy.
You are fantastic. I
Thank
love
you.
Fantastic. This is wonderful.
Beverly, I adore you. Beverly, you are doing
Don't
fantastic.
forget, Ellen, you have to remember all those things.
Yes. Yeah.
Got it, girl.
Sing her.
In order for you, just before you go, in order for you not to have to remember those things, you have to first contemplate them a little bit. So the mind can see them inside of your mind. And when your mind sees them inside of your mind, you don't have to remember because it became part of your mind.
Yeah.
You forget, you bring it back, but it is the contemplation that makes the mind align the mind so it becomes systematic with your feeling, with yourself, with your life. So you don't have to think about it because thought is too late.
Well,
And then-
also, I think that as you're speaking, as we take it in and understand that it's the truth, then we have it.
exactly. The mind gets
That's
it.
it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's there.
yeah.
This was fantastic. It was such a great in-depth class, and it's going to be one of the ones that's going to teach so many people.
Thank you. We'll share it with each other. I love you. I adore you. Okay. So now I'm
Very much.
leaving.
Oh, Beverly, did you need to say something?
Christian,
Anyone?
when we
See you
crossed
later.
our, can I have a question?
Absolutely.
I'm just, when we crossed our legs over, I realized my hips, especially this one, is so tight. So to loosen that, should I cross the leg over and work on it, or what motion will loosen this up?
I think that the best way to find that when you're lying down on the floor and you practice on the floor, go to the bridge and just put one leg and then change the other leg and go to the bridge, because the bridge is going to help you, the pedestal of the bridge and the other one, very gently, because you cannot open by pushing. You can only open by your mind penetrating the inner connection.
Excellent.
Exactly, because it's the inner direction that creates a release of the fascia and the muscles. You can push the body to trying to open. It's not going to work because you're contracting it to expand it. It doesn't work. So you got to go inside a little bit at a time. Exactly. But wonderful. And the best way to
This is a wonderful little exercise.
very wonderful.
Yeah.
Very, very wonderful. Especially then you can practice on the floor the crisscross and the natural bend the knees and so forth. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, I love you. Have
Thank
fun,
you
okay?
so much. It was wonderful.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.
Hi, everybody.